All right, guys, next up, I'm going to show you guys how to develop a material that is going to be aligned with the pattern that you generated. How do I want to describe this? Well, let's kind of just develop, let's put the material map in first, and then we'll get the pattern to align. So we have a material here that when you look at it in elevation and hidden line view, it has, like lap siding lines. So that is that material has a particular size. When you go into lap siding, it's a 6-inch parallel line, and that's a model type line, not a drafting line. So that means we need to get the calibration of our material to match that 6 inches. We're going to work with, I think we'll just do, not wood grain, sorry. Let's do the siding material, this one right here. And we're going to utilize the number of how many lap siding levels, right, or how many courses of this we have to basically determine how big that material is going to be. So let's first apply the material and then we'll calibrate it. Go into the appearance panel, and in the appearance panel, first off, you see that this says generic. We want to duplicate that asset so that we can basically not override all of the generic materials. Okay, so that's actually an important thing that I didn't note in the previous video. An asset can be used for many materials. Okay, that's like super huge. So like, let's say you have a plaster material and you need blue plaster, red plaster, orange plaster. You can use one asset and then change the different material settings in order to give it certain tints and reflectivities and stuff like that. Does that make sense? Okay. So anyway, we need to duplicate this so that it's a different one. So let's duplicate the asset. Let's rename this. I'm going to rename it, I'm just going to start off with lap siding, green. And we need to select the material, so we'll pick siding. You can see that it's already starting to basically generate that siding here in the preview. Actually, let's make this preview a little bigger. Okay, pretty nifty, right? It's already starting to encapsulate that. So one of the important things I think I want to point out here is that you can actually see the bump line. Notice how it's actually sort of curling in a little bit along the line of the break. There are things we can do to change that and stuff, but hopefully it should render out just fine when we render it the way it is. If you want to put a bump map in, you can. I don't think at this stage you have to. Let's see. The only other thing we need to do is modify the image. So we're going to go to Edit Image. So I mentioned that we need each of these things to match to 6 inches, right? So in the span that we have here, this is 1 foot. Right, so we can do a few things with this. We sort of have, well, let's just literally count what this is, right? So take a look at where the top side is. It's about 1/3 of the way down on that lap siding element, and here it's about 1/3 of the way down too. That's good for us. That means our material is calibrated and positioned evenly from top to bottom. So we're gonna take. Let's see, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is, what did I say? These are 6 inches a piece, so that's 4 feet. And then we've got 4.5, 5 feet. Okay, so this size needs to actually be 5 feet. Let me just count that again real quick. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So if if that tile is 5 feet, then each one of those lines is going to align properly. So we hit OK, hit OK, hit OK, hit OK, and then let's just kind of zoom in on it real quick to a point where we can actually see how many there are. So in this view, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, actually, let's just switch it in 1, 2, 3 full-size ones. So let's go into realistic. And yeah, we kind of get the right thing, but it's not in the right position. Okay, so we need to go back into this material. Let me clarify that for you guys. It's not in the right position here because we have a full course at the top, right? That should be a full 6 inches. So we need to calibrate that. Let's go back into the material. Well, let's switch this back to realistic real quick. Back into the material. And let's go to texture alignment. So this is where you can actually align the texture map to the material that's being rendered. And it's super intuitive. All you have to do is kind of nudge it with these little arrows. And what I'm beginning to see is our texture map is actually ever so slightly off in scale. Notice how as I move the top line to match, the bottom line starts to sort of slip off and it no longer matches. So we need to shrink the scale of our map by probably just a couple inches. So I'm going to cancel that, go into appearance, go to edit image, and I'm just going to shrink this down, each one to 4 feet 10 inches. I know it's a little odd, but it should help. Back to graphics, texture alignment, nudge this up. See, that matches a lot more cleanly, huh? So I'm going to hit OK, and then hit OK, and OK. It still doesn't look perfect at the top, but it's close. So we can kind of switch back and forth. Hidden line, realistic. It's a little off. If you want to fudge it, you really can. But I'd say for most renderings, nobody's going to notice the difference of like 1 or 2 inches. Don't really know why that was off at the top. It shouldn't be off at the top. Let me see something. Yeah, that's calibrated. Huh. Oh, we probably want to nudge the actual position of the map. I know what's going on. So let's go back into edit type, edit the structure, we'll go to lap siding. Let's go into appearance and open up edit image again. I think what we want to do is calibrate the top of this. So let's move our Y offset down. There we go. Something like that. Okay, so I moved the Y offset down so that the alignment of that 4 foot 10 inches matches exactly. So then done, hit OK, hit OK, hit OK. Oh, I'm going to nudge it up a little more. So this is the part of rendering, guys, that gets, especially in Revit, that gets really kind of tedious because you have to go into these, you know, all these nested menus in order to fix it. But looks like I went a little too far. Let's try just 2 inches. Actually, that's probably more than a 1/4 inch. Let's do a 1/2 inch. That's a little better. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. Okay, so you get the idea, right? We now know how to do texture alignment, and we know how to do position operations on our material and scaling. So what questions do you have about that? All right, cool. Yeah, something's still a little funky. I think I want to go back to 5 feet. All right, well, I'm going to play around with this and calibrate it a little more. I might go back to 5 feet.